On the eve of veterans reporting to Miami Dolphins training camp, we are going to go over my top position battles for training camp in depth. We got a lot to talk about with that. Plus, are the Miami Dolphins still actively pursuing Rasul Douglas to add to their stable of cornerbacks? It seems like that is the case. Plus, with him being recently released, should the Miami Dolphins pursue Noah Fant? We're going to talk about that, plus a whole lot more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new. Let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one. Appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. As you do, please do me the favor, smash the like button. If you are new, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you are notified every time I go live or drop a video. All right. Quick programming note. That interview that I have this week, I'm thinking I might drop it when I go away, so you guys have some content here while I'm gone. So just a quick programming note. It got pushed back. We're recording on Thursday now, but I think I'm gonna drop that probably when I'm away, just so you guys have some content while I'm not here. It's a big one though, so you'll really like it, man. You know, I see there's already some people in the chat who know that being the homie EM Dolphin fan. Knight knows who it is, so we got a big one coming for you, and I'm working on some other things too. Hopefully I can get those lined up before I go away so I can have even more stuff for you. But I'm going to take care of y'all. Don't worry. Shout out to everyone coming through in the chat. Chuck, Andrew Harris, Bob Oliver, Bubba Bedford, Aladino, Foxing Around, Knight, Topanga's Top 1/3. Great name. Jeffrey Ward, Finn Spin, 99 Knight, Jeff Premont. Oh, Denisha, the homie, she's back. Dr. Zero Quiet, the homie EM Dolphin fan. Michelle Migliardi, Robert Thompson. Shout out to Knight for donating a membership that Chuck got his hands on. Elwood Hodge is in the chat as well. Wayne D, James Steele, Jeffrey Ward. Shout out to each and every one of you. I had someone hit me up and said that this hat looks red on screen, but it's orange. So, I don't know. Jeff Stoudemire, Octane Genius, and Finn Fella. This hat is from like the early 2000s, I want to say. You know, I take care of my stuff, bro. I take care of my stuff. I knew I was taking care of it for a reason, huh? It does? Yeah, no, it's orange. It might just be my filter and the exposure and everything, the way I have things. Looks cherry red. Josh says it looks fire orange. Someone's colorblind here, and I don't know who it is, but yeah, it's orange. It's orange. Just like this, you know, I know it looks like slightly orange, but if you were here live in person, it's like... it's orange. Like, you wouldn't be able to mistake it. It's orange. It's just the way the camera comes through and the exposure and everything I had to set up. So, shout out to Michelle. She just gifted a membership that James was the benefactor of. For Michelle and all of you that are going to be out at training camp, I will be down in Miami from the 18th to the 22nd. That means for the 19th and the 20th practices, I will be there And for the joint practice on the 21st, I will be there as well. So, all right, be prepared. I will be down there. All y'all that want to come through and roll through and say hi, you know where to find me, baby. And one of those days, I'm setting something up where I might be part of a little tent setup out in front of training camp. So, you'll see me even if you're just walking in. I'm getting that all set up with my buddy. So we got something in the works there. As we get the details hammered out, I'll let y'all know and I'll keep y'all informed and involved. All right. So a couple of things. Number one, Will Levis, one of my misses, I guess you could call, well, he's a miss when he's not playing the Dolphins, but he's a hit when he is playing playing the Dolphins. He's a hit, that's for sure. Michelle, you won't be able to make it. I'm sorry to hear that. I was hoping to see you again, but I'm sure we'll have another chance to link up, whether it's through the season or next training camp. And no, apparently a lot of people are still waiting for training camp tickets. So, but I mean, I'm not worried, once that hits. All right. Will Levis, like I said, one of my misses. Yes, I do miss. I know it's hard to believe, but the hits far outweigh the misses. Let's be honest here. I will add that caveat. But hey, when Will Levis plays the Dolphins, he's a hit. I don't know what else to say. He can beat us no matter how good we are. And Michelle gave you guys an update. Says the training camp tickets are low by Friday this year. Because Saturday is appreciate you. Saturday is the first one open to fans, right? Even with Will Levis. Listen, my two biggest misses are what? Probably Will Levis and Jamar Chase. Right? Probably my two biggest misses. But having two big misses is compared to a whole bunch of big hits. I'll take that. You can't be perfect. Perfect is an unattainable state of being and mind. Doesn't exist. It's talked about, but it doesn't exist. So, Will Levis, the fact of the matter is this. I don't know if you guys heard today what's going down with Will Levis, but and I'm going somewhere with this, like I'm bringing this up for a certain reason. He's going to be undergoing season-ending surgery on his right shoulder, which he sustained an injury on early last year before further aggravating it later in the season. So apparently the discomfort is still bothering him. He hasn't been able to get rid of it. So I think the writing's on the wall for all you Hurricane fans. He knew, we all knew, that's Cam Ward's job, right? That's end of the day, Cam Ward. And side note, why are not enough people talking about Cam Ward? This must be the most underhyped first overall pick I've come across in recent memory. No one is giving Cam Ward this man's is doing his credit. For once in their lifetime, they're treating the first overall pick as a rookie that hasn't taken an NFL snap. Why did they wait for Cam Ward to do that? Man, I said this before, I'll say it again. Cam Ward gonna be the best quarterback Tennessee's had since Steve McNair. That kid's gonna be good, man. He's gonna be good. I'm telling you. But with Will Levis, what's interesting here is Cam Ward's going to start. Cam Ward's going to be the starter heading into next year. I wouldn't be surprised if Will Levis is on a new team next year. I think the reason why he waited this long is because he found out the writing's on the wall. And he's like, screw it. All right, I'm just going to go get my guaranteed rookie contract money. And I'll let you move me in the offseason. I'll let you move me in the offseason and I'll go play somewhere else. That's what it feels like the play is with Will Levis. I'm going to go get right for my next team. So I found that very interesting. And Wayne D makes a great point. It's because they're all on the Sanders DICK for some reason. Man, Cam Ward, it's not even close who's better between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. It's not even close. Please. Man, that Sanders name is holding way too much weight when he ain't Dion. That's what I got to say. So you got to give, man, Cam Ward, he's not getting his just due already. Another thing, too, the Bengals, they're somehow finding it, and I hope the Dolphins can find it. The Bengals it looks like they're getting closer and closer, and it could be any day now that they announce a deal with Trey Hendrickson. Shout out to the homie Pretty Ricky coming through with the info. And I'm going to add the sidebar here. You got to take care of Zach Sieler. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Are the Bengals not coming off of a more disappointing season than we did? I mean, Joe Burrow was at MVP level last year. He was easily, I don't care what anyone tells me, Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels were the best quarterbacks in the NFL last year. Okay? Period. And he was clearly should have won the MVP, but because the award, and I've talked about this for years, because this award is tied to records, he didn't get his just due. And anyways, Trey Hendrickson, that deal's going to come through. He's probably going to be in the TJ Watt, Myles Garrett range. They're finding ways to pay these guys. For sure. You know what I mean? I mean, like, you look at the season he had last year. Back to Burrow for a sec. You look at the season he had last year, and it's absolutely criminal. Just criminal that he wasn't named. How many games would they have even won a game without Joe Burrow last year? Let alone, I believe they went 8-9, right? Was it 8-9? I think they went. It's either 8-9 or 9-8, one of the two. But I mean, it's just criminal that he didn't get the award last year. You know, I mean, let's put it in perspective, all right? Let's put it in perspective for a sec. Shout out to EM Dolphin fan. He's in the chat. He'll tell you. Back in 2019, I was a Tua guy, Jordan Love guy, and Joe Burrow guy. I put that whole Tuesday night panel onto Joe Burrow. All of them. Okay? Who do you want to name? TD, EM, Insanity? Who do you want to name? I put them all on to it. All right? To Joe Burrow. And actually, EM was a little reluctant, and then he started diving into the Joe Burrow film. He was like, oh, crap. You know? And remember, I know EM's in the chat, when we had some absolute clueless idiot come up there, and they were arguing with me that they would take Josh Rosen over Joe Burrow because Josh Rosen's played in the NFL. Well, I was like, are you crazy? Joe Burrow at LSU right now is already 1,000 times better than what Josh Rosen's ever going to be. I'll never forget this conversation. Hey, I don't remember what that guy's name was. EM always remembers what that guy's name was. I don't know. Was it eye test or something like that? Anyways, the guy clearly didn't pass the eye test and needed to see an optometrist because his eyes weren't working. But he was arguing with me that he would take Josh Rosen over Joe Burrow. And I remember EM even chiming in and being like, have you lost your mind? You know, that's when we knew this guy didn't know what he was talking about. But anyways, Joe Burrow last year, talking about a guy who threw for 4,918 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, and had a 70.6 completion percentage, and gets passed over for the MVP. How? And I'll give you the exact reason how. 2023, Lamar Jackson goes off, and he wins, the MVP. Come on, man. Lamar Jackson, 67.2 completion percentage, right? He threw for 24 touchdowns and 7 interceptions and 3,678 yards. Okay? Now, he ran for another five touchdowns and threw for another 821 yards. So, you can add up his rushing stats and his receiving stats. Sorry, his rushing stats and his passing stats, and they still don't equate to Joe Burrow's. But what's the difference? They went 13-3. That's the problem with the MVP award. It goes to usually the team with the best record and the quarterback of the team, which I think is a farce. I honestly think it's a farce. MVP means most valuable player. And in this case, who's the most valuable player in the league of any team to their team? It's Joe Burrow. Last year, it was Joe Burrow, man. They would have won one game without Joe Burrow. The Ravens have proven they can win games with their backups. Do we remember Tyler Huntley making the Pro Bowl as a Baltimore Raven when he had to step in? Right? Like, let's be real here. Certain teams are built. That's what's so frustrating about the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel is, how can we never win with our backup while other teams continuously go out there and find a way to win games without their starter? We can't do that. So I think that's an absolute farce. Like absolute farce. Lamar Jackson. I'll put it this way. You can add up. I mean, Tua statistically had a better year. If you add in the rushing, if you add in the passing stats and the rushing stats, I think him and Tua end up at the same amount of touchdowns. But Tua had a higher completion percentage, more passing yards. Obviously, he had more yards if you combine Lamar's 3, 6, 7, 8 and the yards he put on the ground. So yeah, I think it's just it's a farce, man. I really do. Like, I think Lamar's 2019 MVP, I think that was, you're not going to hear an argument from me about that. Minus the fact, I mean, yeah, he only threw for 3,100 yards, but he still threw 36 touchdowns. Like, that'll kind of offset it a little bit for me. But, this guy last year, again, you don't even throw 30 touchdowns in 2023. You don't even throw for 4,000 yards. Come on. In what world? So, anyways. And then finally here, Micah Parsons. You got to wonder if he's heading towards a divorce. You really got to wonder if he's heading towards a divorce, if they're going to franchise tag him and if he's going to leave. Jerry Jones publicly said, just because we signed Micah doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. Right? Like, he's out here taking shots. And J.J. Watt responded and said, anytime you can publicly take a dig at your star quarterback and your star pass rusher simultaneously right before the season begins, you just got to take it. Nothing makes guys want to fight for you more than hearing how upset you are they got hurt while fighting for you. Clearly sarcastic from JJ, and Micah Parsons retweeted that. And we know, before CeeDee got his money, there were some things said that CeeDee wasn't happy about. Man, I'm telling you, and yet you got people defending guys like this, right? Because this is one of the guys you're defending when you're talking about not giving out guaranteed you're not giving out guaranteed deals as second-round picks. That's Jerry Jones is part of the old boys club that you are defending. A guy who's so ignorant and complaining that players get hurt for him when they're putting their bodies on the line for him. Think about that for a second. That's the type of mentality you're defending when you say, well, they caved and they shouldn't have given them the money and blah, 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 blah. Unreal that anyone would defend that stuff. Seriously. All right, let's get into it. So, over 200 of you in the room, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. The Miami Dolphins and the cornerback situation. Per source, and this is from Barry Jackson today, Dolphins remain in active discussions with free agent cornerback Rasul Douglas. He's the most accomplished, healthy corner available who isn't older than 30. So you have the Miami Dolphins continuing to turn those wheels to see if they can draw Rasul Douglas. Now, the holdup is, if you don't know, is the Dolphins have a certain price set in mind, and it is below what Rasul Douglas and his agency value him at. That is why there has been no signing yet. Obviously, the thing about Rasul Douglas is he's coming off of a little down year with the Buffalo Bills. Last year was the first year he didn't have an interception since 2020. From 2021, 2022, and 2023, he had about 14 interceptions. Also had about 23 pass breakups to go along with that. Last year, on about 997 snaps, he had 0 interceptions, only had 3 pass breakups, allowed 3 touchdowns in coverage, and had a 116.9 passer rating when he was targeted. Just for comparison, you know, like we did my my depth chart yesterday for the defense, right? And so just for comparison, for a guy like, I guess you could, you know, he was number 2 on my depth chart, you know, and that would be Storm Duck. Storm Duck had last year as a rookie, he only allowed 1 touchdown in coverage, and he had a 104.2 passer rating when targeted. Now, albeit he only played about 359 snaps, but he had a much smaller passer rating when targeted. Another thing you could say about him too that you didn't really see from Rasul Douglas last year is, he had fewer missed tackles. And if you would average out, like if you would have played about like the same amount of snaps, Storm Duck would have had like over 30 run stops in defense, whereas Rasul Douglas finished with about 19. Listen, I'm not sitting here saying Storm Duck is the better option right now as we sit here. But what I am saying is you can understand why they're not willing to break the bank on a guy like Rasul Douglas comparative to what they want to pay. And number 2, you can also understand why they want to give the young guys a shot to see if they can grow and develop off of what they showed in year 1 with a guy like Storm Duck, or year 3 with a guy like Ethan Bonner or Cam Smith, et cetera, right? So, listen, I will say this. You watch the film with Rasul Douglas last year, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. It's not great. Like, you're not going to see me doing backflips and cartwheels if we sign him. But it's not as bad as people are making it out to be. The issue the big issue with Rasul Douglas is where you really saw that he was maybe losing a step or declining a little bit was when he was asked to play man coverage. That's where you would really be like, okay, yeah, he's hitting his 30s, and he's hitting his 30s real soon. So, that's where you really saw it, was in man coverage. So, I can't even sit here and say with certainty he's an upgrade. I can't. He'd have to come in here and he would have to show and prove that he is an upgrade, I think. So, I mean, it's whatever for me with adding Rasul Douglas. I mean, at least they're addressing a need, Now, we are now into 3 weeks into July. I'm very interested. We have not heard an update on Asante Samuel and where he's at in terms of clearance. So that's another thing I'm interested in hearing about. I want to see where they are at with a guy like Asante Samuel. So I want to see where his neck's at. So, all right, continuing on here with veterans set to report tomorrow, and we all know Zach Sieler out of all the guys they've paid recently, Tua, Chubb, Tyreek, Ramsey, name them, there's one guy who deserves it more than all of them, and that's Zach Sieler. And we don't know if they're going to have a deal hammered out in the early stages of training camp. You know, I reported back when the Jonnu Smith rumblings were happening with the Steelers that we were in contract. Had contract discussions with him. You know, we're going to see how far those progress. I talked about Trey Henderson being handed out money. George Karlaftis has been handed out money. All these guys are getting handed out money except Zach Sieler. Shout out to Pyro, man. How you doing, homie? Haven't seen you in a minute, bro. Hope you're well. Listen. Zach Sieler is still a team player. He is still a good sport. Agent Drew Rosenhaus said Zach Sieler will report to training camp as he seeks a new deal. He told Josh Mosier on his weekly segment on WSVN, but Rosenhaus did decline to comment on how much camp participation Zach Sieler will take part in. So there's the first little nugget, and there's the first little bit of pushback we are starting to see. We know he sat out OTAs because it wasn't mandatory, right? He was there for mandatory minicamp, but he sat out OTAs. And now you're seeing a little bit of groundwork being laid there where Rosenhaus declining to comment on how much camp participation Zach Sieler will take part in. And there's a few things here. Number one, with the way he played last year, am I sitting here stressing that, oh my God, he's got to get acclimated to the scheme and to the system and to the players around him? No, I ain't worried. Okay, I ain't worried in the slightest. Number two, I'm sorry. I'm standing behind Zach Sieler on this situation. Get paid. He deserves it. Everyone said it was because Christian Wilkins that he was getting his numbers. Christian Wilkins leaves. He still gets his numbers. I said this ad nauseum. And hopefully people will get this in their brain when they think about 2024. Go back and watch our defense. If Chop Robinson and or Zach Sieler weren't having on days, that front seven was almost useless. You know, it was almost useless. Right? You needed Zach Sieler and Chop Robinson last year were the game changers in our front seven, in our defense, and really in our defense, but in our defensive front seven. You know, you notice if they didn't have good days, I give you a perfect example. They didn't have a great day the second time we played Buffalo in week 9 when we couldn't stop them for the last 45 minutes from scoring. Yeah, that's right. You heard me right. We couldn't stop the Buffalo Bills for the last 45 minutes. See, that's it. When everyone wants to say, oh, Tua can't win a big game, they leave out the context of things like that, right? Oh, and then you know what they'll say when there's a rebuttal? Well, you know, shootout. Brother, 45 minutes you can't get a stop? That ain't a shootout. That is the Hoover Dam of your defense collapsing and the water rushing in. That's what that is, okay? So, you know, just like in Buffalo 2022, perfect passes to Sherfield and Tyreek Hill. They both dropped them. Defense allows a touchdown on a drive before the half ends when they had Buffalo at 3rd and 17. Any one of those three things go our way, we win that game. Right? And Zach Sieler was one of those context players last year where, especially specifically for our defense, it was him and Chop. If they didn't show up, if they didn't clock in, if they didn't get off the bus, we had problems on defense. Right? Like, we had serious problems. That's why, man. All you people that were so quick to hop off the Chop bandwagon, so quick to call him a bust. Oh, man. I love reminding you guys how wrong you were. Just the lack of patience. And I can see it already this year with Kenneth Grant. We'll probably do it all over again. Right? If Kenneth Grant isn't a game wrecker in his first 4 games in the NFL, well, oh, he's like, I already know where this is headed. So, listen, just pay this man. Take care of this man. If anyone deserves money, it's this man. Please. For the love of everything holy. Shout out to Hooked Up Joe. Welcome to the Pro Bowl, sir. Coming back for the season, I see. But take care of that man. Again, he deserves more money than what Tua got. Well, I don't want to say more money because that's a lot of money, but he deserves the new deal more than Tua getting his new deal, Tyreek getting his new deal. You name him. All right. You want a real hot take? He deserves a deal more than the new deal Wilkins got with the Raiders. And I don't know if you guys have seen Wilkins, but having serious setback with that Jones fracture in his foot, there's rumors that he might miss at least half this season. Like, it's bad and I don't want to say we dodged the bullet because different environments, different game settings, who knows if that happens here. So I don't want to say that. I don't think that's fair. You can't project injuries like that. Just because an injury happens one place doesn't mean it's going to happen on your team with your schedule in your stadium. That's kind of too much of a hypothetical for me to play. But he deserves it more than Christian did. I don't care what anyone tells me. He is, check this one out, not just a top 5 interior defensive lineman. He is a top 10 defensive lineman. You want to count edges and interiors together? Zach Sieler is top 10. He's probably right on the 10 cusp right there. I'd call him right there. I'm sorry. I'm a firm believer in this. One of my favorite players on this team. Zach Sieler deserves to be paid. And I stand with Zach. I stand with Sieler. All right? That's where I am on this one. So, but like a good sport, like the leader he is, he's going to show up and he's going to report to training camp. It's just going to be down to what his participation is going to be. All right? Agreed, EM. Heart and soul of this team, man. Agreed, 110%. He is the definition. If we had 52 other Zach Sielers, we'd win a Super Bowl. That's what you want in a player. That's what you want in a leader. That's what you want in an on-field presence, in a locker room presence. If we had 53 Zach Sielers, we'd win a freaking Super Bowl. Okay? Just saying. So, now, I got a couple things to go over here. Let's go over my top position battles at Dolphins training camp. I've gotten specific with these, not just like, edge, blah, 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 right? So, and then we're going to go over ESPN, and they ranked our roster. And then we're going to talk about if the Dolphins should add a certain tight end to the fray. So let's start off here with my top 10 position battles at Miami Dolphins training camp. And let's start at the bottom here. 10, Ollie Gordon II versus Alexander Madison for RB3. Miami Dolphins, for the 3rd year in a row, drafted a running back. This time, former Heisman candidate Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State. Great north-south runner. He's got a little pop to his game. And I told y'all, if they can harness just 75% of that Heisman season, oh boy, we got something. But Alexander Madison, to me, I'm not huge on Alexander Madison. I haven't been a fan of the signing since we made it. I am of the belief of invest the reps, invest the opportunities in Ollie Gordon II, so we can see what we have. Right? I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I would be trying to sign Devon Achane next offseason. I got a feeling they're going to end up not paying Devon Achane because of how they're going to use him as a receiver. He's going to be seen as a weapon, and hence he's going to be pricey. And I don't know if I see them paying $12+ million to a running back, and it absolutely pains me to say that. Number 9, Grayson Murphy. We got a triple threat in a steel cage. Grayson Murphy versus Mo Kamara versus Quentin Bell, edge 3. Right? I mean, you could say edge 3, edge 4, I guess. obviously, because Chubb, Phillips, and Chop. So you could say edge 4, I guess I would put there, actually. That's my bad. I think Grayson Murphy wins this battle. You want my honest opinion? I think Grayson Murphy wins this battle. You're talking about the guy in the 2023 draft class had the highest pressure rate of any edge in that class. Mo Kamara, you could tell they were using him only as like a pass rush specialist, right? He was only coming off as like a Leo or a Jack or a rush linebacker, really. They weren't putting him in run situations. Grayson Murphy, I think he's going to be a higher pressure machine. I think he's going to be more explosive than Mo Kamara. And I think that's going to be a problem for Mo. Now, Quentin Bell, I think that's going to be, again, all that hype we had last offseason that people were trying to feed us. What did that equate to in the season with Quentin Bell? I just don't see it. I see a solid depth guy, nothing more than that. Grayson Murphy, to me, might have the highest trajectory out of all these three as just a pass rusher. I'm not talking about as a complete player, but as a pass rusher. And I could see Grayson Murphy, because he's a pressure magnet, I could see him getting in that rotation, and I could see him winning this battle. Dr. Zero Quiet says, Mo ain't making this roster. Hey, man, I'm putting that up here because I love the bold takes, bro. Hey, put them on the table, bro. Marino's GOAT. Oh, we're getting there, Marino's GOAT. Number 8, Ryan Stonehouse versus Jake Bailey. Marino's GOAT says Stonehouse is going to destroy Bailey. Oh, bro. Marino GOAT day 1 over here. I love that, man. Love my Marino's GOAT boy over there. I agree with you, Marino's GOAT. I mean, just because you can hold a TKO on Bailey, just because you can hold a football, I'm sorry. What are we saying here? We got Ackerman, our new special teams coordinator. He's a Stonehouse guy. That was like the first move he made, was bringing in Stonehouse. The writing's on the wall. And here's the other key thing, right? For a team that only has about, $2.25 million right now, right? No, sorry, I apologize. We have about 1.993. Yeah, 1.993 million in cap space. If you can get rid of Jake Bailey, you are clearing up some money. Cut him, right? Cut this man. That's all there is to it. You need to cut this man. And you save, what, like a little under $2 million by cutting Jake Bailey? So, yeah, give me the money and Ryan Stonehouse. Number 7. Another triple threat. What is this, a wrestling card I got going on here? Ashton Davis versus Patrick McMorris versus Dante Trader Jr. I'm going to tell you this much, right? You guys all heard how high I was on Dante Trader, my prospect profile yesterday. You already know how high I was on Patrick McMorris last offseason for all of you that follow me. Ashton Davis gets hurt. I'm sorry, bro. You're losing your job. You are going to fall down. You are going to fall down that depth chart. I don't know what else to tell you. I think you got the hungry young bucks in wrestling again. Patrick McMorris and Dante Trader Jr. I think what Dante Trader Jr. offers you as a gunner out of the, in the box, single high, split safety look. We're going to have a lot of 3 safety usage. I think Dante Trader, he's the wild card here, man. Ashton, if you go down or you get hurt or you got poor play, you're going to open up the door for him or Patrick McMorris to take your job. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. Dante Trader's been making plays around the ball from rookie minicamp to OTAs to mandatory minicamp. He's showing his playmaking ability. You know, he's pretty good in man coverage. I just wouldn't trust him out of the slot against real speedy receivers. But other than that, and then we all saw what, you know, Patrick Mahomes was doing last preseason before he got hurt. The guy was looking solid, man. You know, it looked like, you know, when you look at the draft pick of Patrick Mahomes, he's one of those players where you had to go back a few years prior and watch the tape. And that's where you saw the good play, right? Like, I remember, you know, you saw the great play on tape in 2021, right? You had to go back, and when you saw it, you're like, okay, I get what they are seeing, what they are looking at. And remember, he was a scouting staff pick, right? But when you went back to 2021, you saw what he was. And I thought that's the guy we were getting, right? When you go watch his time at, you know, San Diego State, you know, 2021, 2022, I think that's when you saw you were the type of player you wanted to see, especially in 2021. He was fantastic. So, you know, you had to go back, not to watch the Cal film, but you had to watch the San Diego State film to get a hold of what Patrick Mahomes was and the vision they had for him. And, man, I think he's a fit, and I can't wait. He's going to be hungry, you know. Number 6, Willie Gay Jr. versus Tyrell Dodson, inside linebacker 2. I mean, the writing's on the wall, right? They didn't want to bring back Tyrell Dodson. Let's be real here. Let's be real here. They didn't want to bring him back, right? They didn't want to bring him back. That's the fact of the matter. He was plan B. They tried to sign Dre Greenlaw, if we remember correctly, from San Francisco. That's who they were willing to throw the money at. Tyrell Dodson was plan B. So keep that in mind. Willie Gay Jr. has looked phenomenal at OTAs and mandatory minicamp from the people I talked to. He looks hungry. He looks ready. So, to me, you got Tyrell, brother, you got to show up and you got to show out, or it's going to be an issue for you. Number 5, I mean, tight end 1, Darren Waller versus Julian Hill. I mean, I've talked about this. If we see the Darren Waller from 2 preseasons ago that was at Giants camp that had, you know, the guy who covers the Giants, Stapleton, if we get 75% of that guy, I don't see how Julian Hill jumps him. I don't see how he jumps him, and I don't see how Darren Waller doesn't replicate what we got from Jonnu Smith, just at a much lower cost, right? So, I just, again, if we see Art Stapleton, if we see the guy Art Stapleton saw at Giants training camp in the preseason, oh boy, it's going to be tough for Julian Hill. I don't care if you cleaned up your penalties in the second half of the season. Number 4, Nick Westbrook-Ikine and Malik Washington. Now, I feel like Westbrook's going to be, you can line him up at X, Y, or Z, F, whatever. You can line him up in that slot. Same with Malik. It's probably going to be strictly a slot guy, but at the end of the day, it's going to be up to Malik Washington to keep Westbrook away from his slot snaps. And I honestly, I'm going to keep it a $150 with you. I think Malik Washington wins this battle. I think Malik Washington locks down that slot, and I think we see I think we see growth, development, and a much bigger second year for Malik Washington. Number 3, Quinn Ewers and Zach Wilson, QB2. Now, this is interesting to me in the sense of, what if Quinn Ewers balls out? Am I going to be proven right? Are they going to, because of politics and the money they're paying Zach Wilson, Are they just going to, by default, have him win this QB2 spot? I know when I go down for the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st practices of August, this is what I'm going to be watching. I can't wait to see Ewers and Zach Wilson in action and what we got here. So I do think this is a little bit of a political battle because of the money involved. But I'm hoping Quinn Ewers outperforms Zach Wilson just because I want to see how this staff reacts. Are you playing the best available? Are you moving the best available up the depth chart? Or are you letting the politics of money get into play? Because if you're letting the politics of money get into play, you ain't learned anything over the last couple of years. And that goes for Greer, McDaniel, all of them. Number 2, the whole freaking cornerback room. Minus Kid or Kohu, I guess. But in the slot, you got Artie Burns, Kendall Sheffield, and Ryan Cooper will be battling. And then all the other boundary spots will be between Ethan Bonner, Cam Smith, Jason Marshall Jr., who they drafted, Isaiah Johnson, BJ Adams, the UDFA, and Ethan Robinson. So I think that cornerback room, who is going to rise to the top? The cream rises to the top. Who is going to rise to the top? Who's going to be the cream of the crop? Who is going to be the cream of the crop that rises to the top? Part of me doesn't want Rasul Douglas added to this just to see this battle play out. But even with Rasul Douglas added, I would still say the whole cornerback room. And then number 1 for me, it's got to be Bradley Chubb versus Chop Robinson at edge 2. Right? And then I guess whoever loses by default becomes edge 3. That's why I had edge 3 for Grayson Murphy and Mo Kamara or whatever. But who is going to win this battle? Because I've heard privately, they don't want Bradley Chubb impeding on Chop Robinson's growth. Bradley Chubb had to take a massive pay cut for them to even be willing to bring him back. Bradley Chubb is also hungry after what went down last year with Tyreek and the whole team. And, he knows he's got to play well to cash in again if we move off of him. Right? So, man, for me, that's going to be a really intense battle. Because they're going to lock in Jalen Phillips at 1. So who is going to be the guy opposite of him? Is it going to be Chop or is it going to be Bradley Chubb? So, because I think the future right now is Chop and Jalen Phillips. And if Jalen Phillips can stay healthy, he's going to have to stay healthy this year and next year to get a contract from Miami. Well, Jalen Phillips. But I think they see Chop Robinson and Jalen Phillips as their 1-2 punch, at least for the next 2 seasons. So, and hey, maybe Chop Robinson jumps Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips and takes over the edge 1 spot. Like it was said in Angels in the Outfield. It could happen. You never know, right? You never know. So those are my top position battles heading into camp. But we are far from done here today. All right. Now, here are ESPN just came out with ranking the 2025 NFL rosters, their best projected starting lineups. So, number 1, they have the Baltimore Ravens. Number 2, they have the Philadelphia Eagles. 3, the Lions. 4, the Bills. 5 is the Kansas City Chiefs. 6 is the Broncos. 7 are the Commanders. 8 are the Rams. 9 are the Bengals. And rounding out the top 10 are the 49ers. So you ask yourself, where are the Dolphins? Well, we got to go past the teens. Yep, we got to go past the teens all the way down here. All the way down here to 24. Yes, they have the Patriots ranked higher. I mean, they got the Patriots ranked, I believe, 21, I want to say. Yeah, 21. They got the Patriots ranked 21. They got the Dolphins ranked 24. This is crazy. The Dolphins, when healthy, have a top 15 roster. What are we talking about here? So they said their biggest strength is wide receiver. I would say edge rusher could probably be our biggest receiver. They said Miami's receivers might have underperformed last season, but this Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle-led group was super talented and a good bet for a rebound. Dealing with injuries and 2 high safety looks at a league high rate, Hill plummeted from 1,799 yards and 13 touchdowns in 2023 to 959 yards and 6 scores in 2024. Yeah, I think the Tua being out is played a bigger role than the 2 high safety looks. But anyways, meanwhile, Waddle posted 58 receptions and 744 yards in 50 games after clearing 70 receptions and 1,000 yards in each of his first 3 NFL seasons. Miami also upgraded its depth by signing Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who had 9 touchdowns on 32 receptions last year with the Titans. Biggest weakness is the secondary. I would say cornerback room. I think our safety room is actually quite good. Miami's biggest strength this time last year has become its glaring weakness, and perhaps one of the league's biggest. Both starting safeties, Jordan Poyer and Javon Holland, are gone. Okay, but Minka's better than both. As well as top corners, Kendall Fuller and Jalen Ramsey. Oddly, the Dolphins didn't do much to replace them. They added Artie Burns, Ashton Davis, and Ifeatu Melifonwu. 5th rounders Jason Marshall and Dante Trader were their only draft selections in the secondary, and Kader Kohou is pretty good, but the situation around him is massive. Did they write this before we traded for Minka? Because how are you talking about these guys and not Minka? That makes no sense. Again, cornerback is our biggest room. Our safety room with Melifonwu, with Minka Fitzpatrick, with Davis, with McMorris, with Dante Trader, it's going to be good. It's the corner room. So they said the X factor for the Dolphins is the running game. Dolphins went from the most efficient running game in the league by EPA per play in 2023 to the second worst last year. Run blocking played a big part of that, but the running back performance dropped. 2, Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, and Raheem Mostert all recorded negative rush yards over expectations per NFL Next Gen stats. So because the X factor is the offensive line, it's not the running game. Again, these people just the analytic and score box watch, right? One way or another, Mike McDaniel will need to get the ground attack back on track. Non-starter to no linebackers Willie Gay and KJ Britt. Dolphins have built great depth at inside linebacker with these former starters. Gay is strong in pass coverage, while Britt has a 72 combined tackles for Tampa last year. But you usually play 2 of these guys at a time, and the Dolphins also have Jordan Brooks and Tyrell Dodson. Are Gay and Britt more of a luxury for this defense, given its significant holes at other positions? And then they go over the projected. They put Minka here, but they don't mention him in addition. So I don't know. Let me know in the chat and in the comment section, where would you rank the Miami Dolphins roster today? I have them as top 15. I think ludicrous to have them at 24, let alone 3 spots behind New England, who's a couple drafts and a couple free agencies away from being on our level, quite frankly. So, yeah, I don't really buy that. So, let me know in the chat where you rank our roster. All right? We got 14, 13, 15 or 16, 11. So, finally here, should the Miami Dolphins pursue Noah Fant? If you didn't know, yesterday in the afternoon, after we had gone live, the Seahawks released veteran tight end Noah Fant, the 2019 first-round pick, who was acquired in the 2022 trade that sent Russell Wilson to Denver. Over the past 3 seasons in Seattle, Fant started 42 games and had 130 receptions for 1,400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now, the issue where Noah Fant is at right now is he just didn't produce like they thought he was going to produce in Seattle the way he produced in Denver. That's just what happened, you know? In Denver, you know, he had back-to-back seasons of over 670 yards, and he had 7 touchdowns. You know, he didn't have a touchdown in 2023. You know, he only broke 500 yards last year, and he only had a touchdown, right? He had 4 touchdowns in his first year in Seattle, and has had 1 in 2 seasons, right? Like the last 2 seasons. You know, and you look at his first 3 years in Denver, he had 10 touchdowns. right? You look at his first 4 seasons in the league, he had 14 touchdowns. And again, over the last 2 years, he's only had 1. Now, what I will give him is the guy doesn't drop the ball when he's thrown the football. What I will say, too, is his average depth of target has gone down, right? You know, last year was his worst average depth of target. Last year he did also post the 4th best yards per reception of his career. Now, let's have the conversation. He's an okay blocker. He's not great. Like, he's not gonna blow you away. You know, like, he's an okay blocker. You know, it's just, and in line, last year he saw his in-line usage drop under Sean Payton. He was used in line less than 30% of the time. He saw his usage drop last year. So, listen, at the right price, I would definitely be interested. I think he's better than Julian Hill, and Noah Fant, Darren Waller, all of a sudden is an intriguing tight end 1, tight end 2 combination. Now, how are you going to fit this in with $1.993 million? Again, go sign Zach Sieler, and you clear about $5.5 million of cap space. So that would take us to about $7.4 million. Cut Jake Bailey. Now you're at about $9.4 million. Right? And all of a sudden, we got this cap to play with. You could go get Fant, and you could go get a corner with that money. So cutting Jake Bailey, saving $2 million, giving a Zach Sieler extension, saving about $5.5 million on top of the $1.9 million you already have saved up. All of a sudden, now you're rolling with almost $9.5 million. And if you really want to get giddy with it, you can go give Jordan Brooks some money, and that'll clear up like another $5 million. You know, there's money to be. You can go give Aaron Brewer a contract, and that'll clear up even more money. There is money to be freed up if you play your cards right, and you could add to that room. I mean, it doesn't hurt to add him to the room, and this is why I say that. Yes, Darren Waller is apparently in like some of the best physical shape of his life, let alone his career, from what I understand and people I've talked to. But here's the thing. You know what you're doing? You're trying to mitigate your risks as much as possible. Okay, Darren Waller doesn't work out. Well, at least we still have Noah Fant. You know, what are we expecting with Pharaoh Brown? Let's be real here. Yes, he's a fantastic blocker, but you're going to be telling defenses what you're doing when Pharaoh Brown comes out there. You're telling them, yeah, we're not offering you a seam threat right now. This guy's going to be blocking. Here comes the run. So, you know, Julian Hill, I know Embry's high on him. I mean, I don't see it yet, at least. But I think the upside with Fant in this offense is much higher than Julian Hill. You know, like I said, if Darren Waller's good to go, the upside for Darren Waller in this offense is, again, much higher than Julian Hill. So, and I get it, you know. Oh, Julian Hill is the strongest player. And what has that got us? What has Julian Hill being the strongest player on this team got us? I'll tell you what, a whole lot of penalties. So, I'm good. You know, if you can go add Noah Fant for the right price, go do it. Go do it. So, guys, do me the favor, smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Veterans Report tomorrow. You know we will be live for that. Wednesday is the first practice. Here's the deal. They practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They're off Sunday, and then they're back at it Monday. So we got a lot of practice coming up. Training camp is about to kick into full gear right out the gates. We'll have you covered over here on Phinside The NFL. So keep it locked in. Veterans Report tomorrow, and I cannot wait. Cannot wait. So smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. As always, you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. Let me know in the chat and in the comments, what position battles are you looking forward to most at training camp? All right, and what players are you looking forward to facing off the most? I'll see y'all in the next one. Until then, over 300 of you in the room. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Fins up all day, every day.